Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome, one and all.
Hello, Nathan.
Afternoon. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Don't often get a hello, Nathan, in the intro. Hello, whoever that was. Hello to you too. Good to have you all. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
The concept that there's an infinitely expanding area of space above our head comes from the celestial sphere model that's based on a flat plane.
Everything okay, Righteous?
Yeah, everything's good.
Okay, cool. You only normally join when there's something going awry. So, yeah. Well, not always, but okay. We're going to be covering Witsit by popular demand. So several people contacted me personally, and several people left comments in other videos that they wanted to cover this. So just before I started recording, I did take the time to go through the first section, because it tends to be the case that there's a bit of maybe argy-bargy, waffle, whatever you want to call it, at the beginning of each of these shows, when you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of what the debating points are. So, for those of you who want to check this out, maybe leave them a comment, let them know. Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube sent me. I'll stick a link to this video, if I can, there we go, copy. I'll even stick it in with the live stream chat. So, as is normally the case, you can let this videographer know, being the Baptist Bias is the name of the channel over on Rumble, that Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube sent me. And we're going to be covering this today. But so you know what happened in the first 17 minutes and 25 seconds of the video, as I've just literally gone through it. After the general introductions, there was I'm going to say it's 10 minutes. I was spinning my way through it, so I don't know the exact amount of time, but it seemed like about 10 minutes of Owen Benjamin basically telling the guy on the right, don't ad hom. And the guy was really reluctant to just say, no, okay, fine, I won't use this logical fallacy. It took 10 minutes, and Owen Benjamin had to get pretty stern in that 10 minutes. So there you go. If you want to check that out, you can listen to 10 minutes of Owen Benjamin going, no, it's not reasonable. It's not part of the debate. I just want you to concede here and now that you won't ad hom. What's wrong with it? You know, that was kind of what the general theme of it was, and probably why Witsit's got this grin on his face when they actually get to starting, which is about now at about the 17-minute mark. So has anybody in the Discord server watched this already?
Yeah, I saw the first 10-15 minutes where
well, that's
Owen
useless
Benjamin is
to
going.
us because that was Owen Benjamin saying let's not ad hom.
That's pretty much it. Yep.
Anybody actually watch
He
the
said he's
debate?
going to blow the horn in the guy's in a screen. He has a horn. So every time this guy commits logical fallacy, he said he's going to blow the horn.
Who did? Owen Benjamin?
Owen Benjamin, yeah. You'll see.
I hate this already. I mean, even when it's my own and it's Quantum Eraser with his soundboard, I cringe and just think of 1980s disc jockeys. You ever seen The Simpsons when they show the radio DJs out at some event like a football game, and they're actually at the back of the stand rolling the records, and then you see them honking the horns and doing the and all that sort of stupid stuff along with their gags. And you're like, oh, this is so cringe. There we go. Obviously, that's what the masses want: honking horns and soundboard effects. It's just, I don't know. I don't make out like I'm some highbrow tough or anything, but it just makes me cringe. Anyway, enough about that. Anybody else that's actually watched the debate? As I say, plenty of people got in touch with me about this, so I'd expect at least one person to say, yes, I've watched this. I was offended because blah, 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 blah. Oh, wow. Literally nobody's watched it. Okay, well, it's obviously just the people in the YouTube chat. I'm sure there's going to be a few people that say they've watched it from the chat. Please let me know if you had any comments on it on the YouTube chat. Hopefully that's given enough people time to have left a comment on that videographer. As I say, it's the Baptist Bias channel, and the actual video is called Flat Earth Debate, Austin Witsit versus Jonathan Shelley with Owen Benjamin, the Baptist Bias. So there you go, check it out. Hopefully a few of you, as I say, have left a very nice and polite comment that says, or indicates that we have covered this video by basically saying Nathan Oakley sent me. So, should we crack on? If there are any comments, please give them now. I'm literally about to press play, but I'll give a couple of seconds in case anybody's got any comment before we do start. Okie dokie then.
We're going to start the clock. We are. We're going to end up friends after this. We will. You'll see. I'm going to start the clock at 5 minutes. And so Witsit is arguing in the affirmative that the Earth is a flat, not moving plane. Pastor Shelley is arguing against that it is a spinning ball in a vacuum. All right? So that's the parameters. All right, let's kick this thing off. Let me get my little clock.
Yeah, break down the false dichotomy that is flat Earth versus flat Earth then. Go ahead.
Well, it is a false dichotomy, first of all, but he just challenged Witsit with the positive claim. No, it's part of their rhetoric. It's measured flat too. So the positive claim then becomes that you're standing on a sphere if you're going to use a claim structure for this, right? So immediately by stating Witsit has the positive claim, he's put it, he's switched to the burden.
No, I didn't catch that. I did not catch that because it was just after it was started. I was looking at things and gauges and such, but kudos, that was a good catch. Yeah, he's flipped the burden onto Witsit unjustifiedly because the other guy has the positive assertion that Earth is a sphere in a sky vacuum, an outrageous claim that requires an outrageous standard of evidence. Meanwhile, as John has just pointed out, both claims, Witsit and this guy's, require a horizontal plane of reference to start the process off in terms of Earth measurement. That would be Earth measured flat for the globe believer's claim to pad out. His origins are in a flat Earth. Witsit's origins are in a flat Earth. There's also, on top of the flat Earth measurements used for both parties, an outrageous claim that those measurements can suggest that we're on a sphere. Therefore, ergo, the opponent is Witsit. The positive claimant is the guy on the right, whatever his name is, Jonathan. He's the positive claimant, not Witsit. You're right.
Reset and go.
All right. So thanks for having me on. Thanks for modding, Owen. So the position is pretty simple. We were kind of all told that the Earth is a spinning ball and then it flies through space. But if you actually think about everything logically, we need to step back. And so the default position is actually that the Earth is a stationary plane. So yeah, I take the affirmative position that it is.
Perfect. Props to Witsit. Sharp cookie.
The stationary plane, and that's supported with every empirical piece of evidence that exists. So we obviously don't experience the Earth moving. In fact, we have highly precise interferometry measurements that have shown that the Earth's not moving. We obviously see the horizon.
No, you did well and then immediately ruined it. We have interferometry claim to prove a negative, non-positive claim. No, Earth not moving is not a positive claim that needs affirmation by interferometry. So you flip the burden onto yourself into a positive claim for a non-positive position that has an extraordinary claim from the opponent that we are spinning at 1,000 miles an hour rim velocity at the outside edge. So, no, this isn't your positive claim, but you seem to have taken that upon yourself. I wonder why. Well, I wonder what else interferometry will be useful for Witsit in this debate. Oh, I could only imagine.
This is what's interesting. In making that claim, he denies his own position as an Ethereum, not a flat earther, because the interferometry of Michelson-Morley wouldn't show a rotational change equivalent to Earth rotation, but there is a small variance, which Ethereans attribute that to ether drift, and that rate of drift changes with altitude. That's part of their Ethereum claim. So it's interesting that as Flat Earth head on, they've made a contra-positive statement for what an Ethereum would believe, how they and the Ethereum would interpret those same results.
It's horizontal. We actually use plane survey to do all civil engineering to build everything in the world, as if the Earth is flat. We fly the plane.
Why the lack of confidence, Witsit? We build on Earth flat, as if the Earth is flat? That didn't need the qualification. We build on Earth flat. I was about to give you props. I'm glad I continued letting it play, because you're making your argument weaker. You're diluting it unintentionally by adding in these weasel words that I'm sure some of the people who oppose us currently on the flat Earth side would absolutely love if we inserted into our very strong and dominant rhetoric with regards to how Earth absolutely, without question, is unequivocally measured flat. Now, wouldn't it be better for our opponents if there was some angle that they could work their way in? Like, Earth is measured as if it is flat. No. It's a prerequisite. It's required. It must be flat. Why this wishy-washy as if? As if it's flat. No, it is. That's how it's being dealt with and built on. You just said it yourself.
As if the Earth is flat and stationary. So on the surface, pun intended, right? Everything is the default being that the Earth is flat and stationary. Of course, we see everything in the sky move, etc. So there's a claim that the opposite of that is true. So actually, in terms of logic, right, that has a
non sequitur aspect attached to it. When you're in, by way of Owen Benjamin's positioning, the positive affirmative position to prove your already disclaimed as default position that Earth is flat. But that doesn't convince the audience. But now you're jumping into undoing the opponent's position. You're going first. Slam them down, son. Slam out every card you've got that proves Earth's flat. Launch into what garbage he presents you based on the garbage he presents you, so you can seem less disingenuous when it comes to response, because preemptively attacking him makes you also seem weak. You're first, mate. Prove it's flat over and over, and leave him with a crap ton of stuff to deal with. And then if he doesn't, and he just launches into his rhetoric, maybe a few preemptive attacks that he's decided he's going to attack you on, straw men then, because you've already laid down your claims, you can point out which ones he failed to address, taking the winning stance. This just seems like confidence, Witsit. You need to know balls to bones Earth is flat. Just start slapping it down on the table, mate. Not as if it's flat, not and also they say it's globe here or it isn't. You know, he'll do that of his own volition, and you can attack the points he gives you crap that they will be, flat Earth using that they will be, after he gives them you.
Pretty substantial burden of proof. We've already substantiated it just with the default empirical position, but that's kind of the meta here. And one thing that happens a lot is people typically they say, well, if the Earth is flat, then how does this work? You know, like, oh, well, what is the moon then? You know, and I've never been to the moon, by the way. No one has, and I don't know what it is. I don't need to know what it is.
You just need to qualify these statements. Nobody's been to the moon, or I haven't been to the moon. Nobody's been to the moon because you can't go to the moon. It would involve travelling through an area of volume they call space that the gas we are breathing at high pressure is not filling, violating the second law of thermodynamics. You got 5 minutes. Slap them down, son. Slap them down.
Falsify this claim that the Earth is a globe, right? So falsification is independent of replacement. That's important.
You don't need to falsify it. He's not slapped down any cards yet. You should be slapping yours down. You just keep going back to this vomit of, I need to tell you that it's not a sphere.
Hopefully we can keep that in mind going through the conversation, because if the tactic is just to say, if I can get a gotcha on the flat earther of how the whole universe works and somehow the Earth becomes a ball again, that's an illogical way to go about it. And then I'll go through some of the evidences. Again,
this just seems weak. I've got to lay down all the terms of how it's not fair for me to lose. Win. Show your hand straight away.
Is that we have that directly refute it. You go back into time, you get to 1887, Michelson-Morley. They did an interferometry test, and it showed that the Earth is not moving.
So let me get it straight. You're going to ramble on about how default positions work, and then take a non-experiment you've now relabeled as a test, and claim that it proves the non-rotational default position of stationary that's non-positive. Just seems like you want to introduce this test for some reason. I mean, what do I know? I've got no idea why I'd have an ulterior motive to do such a thing. Anybody got any idea why I might want to do this? Because it's non sequitur.
Well, if you held other fundamental religious beliefs which are more important, then you need to work these things in.
What could be more important than proving Earth's flat, Adam? I don't understand.
Showing that we're a manifestation, an induction, yeah. Like I say, people.
So much so that.
Sorry, my bad. Accident.
Well, no. This is the issue, isn't it? We're clouding the argument by trying to put in our separate argument, which is to do with the nature of reality for him, not to do with the nature of the surface. Two different things. And I say fundamentally, though, he's contradicting himself. Don't know why he's stating something that does demonstrate some movement and citing that it's not. Someone that was actually aware of his arguments would be, I think, holding him to account here. But again, why cite something? There's no need. He's already made the most important point that he's got no claim. Everything we experience doesn't support anything other than flat and stationary. Make that, and I thought he made that well. But now we should be slapping him, shouldn't he? Black swanning him, celestial navigating him, taking him on through maps. He's got 5 minutes to just destroy the guy. And I think this is more apologetics, isn't it? Well, I think, as you said, he's preempting his opponent's argument a little bit. Be confident, dude.
Just for anybody watching, right? I don't want to get to the audience to get the wrong idea about what we're doing, right? Number one, as much as this might annoy some flat earthers who've heard us moan about Witsit and what he does with ether, Witsit's generally a pretty good debater. I'm not going to decry him of that, right? We are trying to sharpen his tool to the point where it'll cut a human hair if you drop it on it, as opposed to it's pretty good, which he is. He's pretty good. So far, he gets an easy 8 out of 10. And I would suggest that if anybody likes to laud this kind of stuff that we critique Witsit with over him, I absolutely guarantee that he's probably better than 99% of the people watching the show at debating and can cope with pressure better than you. That's the more important detail, the fact that he can do something like this in front of a camera, under pressure, with an audience, and an opponent that's going to throw things at him that he doesn't expect. That takes a talent that most people don't have. So I just want to get that out of the way, first of all. Second of all, what we are trying to do is raise the game of generally everybody with the use of Witsit as our muse in this regard, right? He's our canvas that's got half a painting on it. And we're like, this could do with a bit more detail. But at least we've got a painting to work with, right? So don't take it the wrong way. And the same applies to Witsit if he was listening to this, actually. You know, if he was to come back at me and go, why would you critique me in this way? Like, I've got to set the stage, I've got to do these things, and for the people who are newbies, if they don't understand why I'm not taking the globe apart, he could give me 101 excuses, and I'd probably agree with all of them, and then reiterate every point I made to make his blade sharper. So don't take this as being Witsit's done badly, because it doesn't seem on the surface so far, would you not agree, Adam, that he's done badly? It's just at this point where we're getting really critical with him. He's introduced part of his religious belief in ether to this debate, having not necessarily got to the stage, and we didn't know that before it happened, but got to the stage where he's laid down a few cards that are unequivocally proving flat earth in the mind's eye of the audience. He hasn't done that yet, and he's on to his religious belief in ether and introducing Michelson-Morley test, rather than slapping down those cards. So you could argue, well, he's got all day. Yeah, he has. But last time this happened, it cut straight to a commercial break. And I'd have preferred at least one card got slapped down proving flat earth before that happened, but it didn't. So it's the same critique, and, you know, maybe Witsit's listening, maybe he's not. I just don't want anybody to lord it over him like he's doing a bad job, because he's not.
No, I mean, if anything, I'm talking to Witsit when I'm putting critique in, and no one's going to be sitting here going, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, etc. Yeah, I have ultimate respect for Witsit, yeah, but there's still parts of it that are disappointing because they're not to do with flat earth, and I'll keep saying them again and again and again. To his face, I'll say them. I'm not bitching, yeah? It's just apparent straight away. We're being sarcastic, a little bit of parody, but straight away we're off flat Earth, we're into ether. And it's not 2015. We've got something to be front-footed with. We've got something that we can slap down now and make a claim and make them deal with it and watch them flounder. And it's disappointment that we're now, what, 5th month into the year from front foot forward, and somebody as prominent as Witsit, who does know the argument, isn't using it. Yeah.
Well, he's got all the elements already, and he's already put them down, which is useful for me, because he's already said, okay, they're going to be building with respect to a flat Earth, on a flat Earth, and Earth is a predisposed flat plane. It's the default position. So he's got all of the elements. So when you put all those together, you can concisely summarize that as Earth is measured flat. But he's wishy-washy and describing it as if it is flat to soften the blow when it doesn't need softening. It needs sharpening and strengthening and giving it more impact. But, you know, as far as I can see, if I laid this out to Witsit, if he was in front of me now, and I'm like, if I put all these elements that you've just given me in a certain order, can you understand how just declaring it as follows is a lot more impact? Earth is measured flat because of the predisposed flat position that we all take, how we have actually physically measured on it that you can show with examples of measurements, and the measurements are taken with respect to the horizontal plane of reference and sea level for elevation. So it's all being measured flat, dealt with flat. It's Earth as a flat plane that's being measured in your own examples. So would it not be beneficial to, in an impactful manner, slap that down on the table immediately, and then perhaps qualify why that is the case after you've really given some impact? Earth's measured flat, here's how. You already know the rest. You've given it us already, but you topped it off with as if flat rather than starting with Earth is measured flat, as you then described it to be. So, like I say, this is just a rearrangement of what he's already said. The fact that I've got the ingredients to be able to rearrange them makes my life so much easier when trying to communicate this point to other flat earthers. It's like, here you go. I assume you're not going to Witsit going, hang on a second, if I put all of what you just said together, you're basically saying Earth's measured flat. You can't say that. Nobody's doing that because it's diluted. You're like, why does it need to be diluted? It doesn't. It's our winning point. It's our silver bullet. What's that? You want to carve a few initials onto the silver bullet, maybe ruin how well it flew. No, let's not worry about whose initials are on the bullet. Let's just fire it. Yeah? Anyway.
But the thing is, like, you don't ever, like you said, the if statement, you don't, the best you're going to do if you put a measurement into an if statement is affirm the consequence. But you'll, not to say that it's your conclusion will be wrong. It just makes your argument void. So it's frustrating. If you're going to do it, you need to take their claim away right away by addressing the angles that they're getting ready to steal off a flat plane.
And that's all they're doing in the most simplistic of terms. They're stealing the angles off a flat plane. But those are the measurements that they're stealing, and it's Earth that they're stealing them from, and it's flat when they measure it to steal them.
It's all for the rebuttal, isn't it? There's no need to go where Refracted will go yet until the other guy speaks. Let him get it all out and then destroy him with what John said. But this is your opportunity now to say why it's flat, not why ballers even measure it flat to build a ball. This is just make the positive statements we can now make in 2024.
Right, but that is a positive statement, what I just said. It must be flat to acquire an angle. That point needs to be driven home.
Yes. Right, we'll crack on.
the grappler named Einstein had to come in and change all physics and say that time slows down and the measuring rod contracted to deceive us into thinking that the Earth is stationary, and that's
You
the
gotta give
modern
him
claim
a
of
bit
physics
kudos
today.
there. The grappler named Einstein. Fair play with it. Just funny.
To claim the Earth is moving through space, you actually have to say time slows down to trick you into thinking so. And that's a positive claim that literally can't be verified at all. That test has been replicated hundreds of times, even in modern history. So the interferometry measurements show that the Earth's not moving. It's
Now we've got a juxtaposition between Einstein and Michelson-Morley. So we're into him introducing his own false dichotomies. Wow. So disappointing.
the most precise way to measure motion in the world. And actually, when we do detect a rotational motion with, say, ring laser gyros, it changes with altitude, which is impossible on a sphere. The actual measurement would have to stay the same at latitude, regardless of altitude. So that's a direct falsification of the claim that the Earth is moving, which is actually, again, the positive claim that needs to be substantiated anyway.
He's utilized latitude in his description. Latitude is a part of both his and his opponent's claim, and it's measured flat. It's an angle to Polaris off a flat plane. But we're already using how it's proving Earth isn't spinning, and that Michelson-Morley is a better juxtaposition with Einstein in the race to prove we're not moving. But latitude's incorporated into this. That's a flat Earth proof. That's a silver bullet that he hasn't used for anything other than his interferometry garbage. Wow.
As to the flat part of it, like I said, we already utilize the Earth as if it's flat. We make planes.
There it is again. As if it is flat. No, it is by your own example of them building on it flat. Referencing it as a flat plane and leveling it to that reference so that we can build things on it. You already understand this, and you understand that it's the default position, therefore doesn't, in your own estimation, even require proving. Now, we would agree, once you've laid down how the measurement proves we're measuring a flat plane to do the things that you've justified, how we measure it as if it is flat. I really don't like this phraseology.
Survey measurements. We literally measure the Earth to be flat. That's how we do civil engineering to build runways, railways.
Now let's rewind that. So we did that. It was wishy-washy, then bold. Let's just hear it again.
So that's a direct falsification of the claim that the Earth is moving, which is actually, again, the positive claim that needs to be substantiated anyway. As to the flat part of it, like I said, we already utilize the Earth as if it's flat. We make plane survey measurements. We literally measure the Earth to be flat. That's how we do civil engineering to build runways, railways, bridges. Our entire life is literally built upon the understanding the Earth's flat and the flat Earth measurements called plane survey measurements. What then happens is people...
Perfect. Why didn't he open with that? That was epic, with the exception of the little bit of Weasley preamble, as if, end quote. That was almost perfect. Anybody disagree? He didn't use celestial navigation, he used plane surveying, but plane surveying, just as good. Why not? I don't care what you use, really. Go ahead, sorry to interrupt.
No, I agree. I'm not picking him up on the as if there, because if you take the full sentence, he's corrected it in himself. If you pause it at that point, you can critique it. But the point he makes is it is measured and built upon flat with surveying. Double down now with navigation, you know? Because they can use the so biggie it's flat with surveying argument back. And then that's when you slap them with, how about biggie enough to an angle to Polaris? Is that biggie enough for you to have to incorporate curvature? You've got to put them down. It's nice having surveying, but we've got the ball destroyer in terms of latitude and Polaris and navigation. It's nice having the surveying in, but it's not the big gun.
No, as far as it applies to the entirety of Earth, you're right. But when you're talking about the horizon, because his opponent will have to interject that at some point as a measurable Earth curvature. The thing is, with the surveying, you have a formula called rise over run, which is measures slope, or it's a slope calculation. I'm sorry. So that sets you up for the slope if you have to use it.
So slope being the deviation from horizontal to describe how slopey it is. And if you're describing something as a horizontal plane, obviously there is no deviation. Same applies to the horizon. So if you can introduce it at this stage, if I'm correct in reiterating what you say, John, you've then got an anchor point for the slope-a-dope argument if they start to infer that level isn't level anymore.
Yes.
Gotcha. I mean, this is pretty advanced stuff in terms of preempting what might happen here, and I've not watched this. Have either of you, Adam or John, or who else is on the panel, Righteous,
No.
have any of you watched this to know that might be a preemptive argument to have at this stage? I don't know if it is or not. It might be.
I haven't watched it, but the bit I've seen is don't be preemptive. There's no need, is there? You're going to be able to destroy this guy. Don't give him your best ball destroying arguments yet. Just hammer home how flat it is. That's all I'd be doing now. If I've got 5 minutes, I was just pondering there, would I even, because I said I would at first, would I bring up the black swan, or would I just wait for the black swan? Once I've got him to reify his horizon, then I'd probably bring it in. I think at this point, it'd just be basics, talking about navigation, talking about elevation angles, and just laying that out. Using my 5 minutes there.
Hold on, John. I don't want this to be triggering. I still want you to reiterate the preemptive aspect of the argument, even though Adam is then decrying it based on the position we are in the timeline of the discussion and what needs to be done at this stage. It doesn't mean I don't want you to keep doing it, but by the same token, I don't want it to annoy you to the point where you want to cut him off and go, no, it's still important and proving a flat earth in this aspect, because you're still doing it perfectly. And that's not in being my favourite if anyone's watching. I want both sides of it. The preemptive aspect that we would look to the future with if we were in this debate, and, as Adam's putting it, and I'm not saying more agree, but, I would agree with Adam in the respect that, no, at this stage, you just need to be slapping the cards down. This is how it's proven. What you have to contend with from him after the fact is going to be weakened if everything you've done up until this point is just to prove it in the most simplistic of terms. So you're both right, and I just don't want you to argue about it as you're about to get into it. Who was Adam that was just about to round out?
I was just saying, I'm not saying that you should give them the slope-a-dope argument using the horizon. At this point, you should introduce rise over run as a proof it's flat. And then just as you would introduce elevation angles as a proof it's flat. So when it comes back to them making a positive claim in their section where they open, then you can get them with the positive statements that they're not going to refute because they use them too.
Right. Adam, did you have a bit to add on before I carry on playing?
No, I'm not disagreeing with John. I'm saying I will use it, but just not yet. As keen as I am. The other thing I bring up is gas pressure, because there's a claim of rotation here, and I would hate to go anywhere near Coriolis, but I'd want to address it, and I think I would use gas pressure at this point and make a few simple statements of natural law. Not going much further than that. Like I say, I'm just stating facts right now. I want him to challenge them, with his weak argument and weak rebuttals, and then I'll hit the detail. So yeah, I'd probably try and also work in my 5 minutes gas pressure, what its requirements or what its antecedent is.
Okay, there's 112 people watching, and I can only assume it's because I've updated the title of the show and put Owen Benjamin and Witsit's name in it. And based on the amount of messages I had, lots of people did want us to cover this particular discussion. So I assume that's why the numbers are slightly higher than they would be at this particular point in the show. But if you've just joined us, very warm welcome to you. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Thank you to all of you who did share the show, because it's probably been enticing the people who've come that are extra to the normal 100 people that would have at this sort of time. So very warm welcome to you all. Please share the show. Smash the share button. It's only a couple of clicks, and you can stick it on Facebook or X or wherever it is you share. Wherever it is you use will automatically appear in that little box underneath this video where it says share. So click it if you've not done so already, and a massive thank you if you have.
We'll take those
Yeah,
flat
do you
Earth
see how
measurements,
Adam
stitch them
didn't address
together,
this?
and
Yeah, Adam didn't address the...
Oh, I was saying, that, see how Adam didn't address the sky vacuum? He just said, make the statement that gas pressure requires a container, right? Because they're going to use the pressure gradient to try to claim that they don't need a container for the Earth to have gas pressure. Like, your opening in a debate should just be to get the facts on the table. That's your opener.
I'd agree, and that's what I'm saying. I'd just make those statements of facts. We don't need to apply them to a spinning ball Earth. We can just make them as a statement of fact. Natural law, it's not arguable, but it's there for the record. Then he's got to then disagree with natural law. So I'd just like I say, just be getting those bits down.
claim the Earth's a globe with a presupposed R value. And so that's going to get into how we know for sure that this globe model that was brought to us by Jesuits is incorrect. We actually falsified the radius. So if the radius value is wrong, the entire model is wrong. Because the globe model's day and night cycle uses that, gravity uses that, distances on the Earth use that. Everything about the model boils down to the radius value of the sphere that is proposed. The way that we have falsified that, and there are many ways, we've shown that the horizon is in fact not physical, it's apparent. And we've seen the horizon over 10 times further than it needs to be, requiring the radius value to be 250,000 miles away. Basically just saying the R word, saying refraction doesn't make it true. You have to substantiate that. We also have line of sight radio wave transmission.
Again, he's into preemptively dealing with certain aspects of certain arguments, in that case, Black Swan. No need. I mean, if you're going to use that as a tool in your arsenal, whip it out when it's time, but it kind of makes me think he's got a lack of
Yeah, now he made it.
Go on.
In the mind's eye of the person watching, he's, the presupposition is set that it's a sphere. Now we got to prove it's not, like we got to prove how not curved it is in that individual's mind now because of the way it's being set up.
That go far beyond the limit of the curvature of the Earth, and microwave transmissions up to 10,000 miles, and it should get blocked at, say, a couple hundred miles.
Yeah, I absolutely hate this. It should get blocked. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You called it perfectly. He's in the mind's eye of the audience working on how much Earth would get and should get in the way of these transmissions based on his phraseology. So yeah, he needs to do some work on how he phrases this stuff if he's going to use them as proof.
It's a funny one to word, though, isn't it? Because it's a bit like the sea sparrow. It's a bit like lasers. It's a perfectly good piece of technology that isn't commensurate with a ball. Yeah, and for all intents and purposes, the signal transmission is calculated, measured, and applied over a flat plane. It's an older one, but like with the Sea Sparrow missiles, but it is a flat Earth proof and worth mentioning. Yeah, and I don't think you have to. Like I say, you have to be careful with the wording of saying we see too far or we can send signals too far. If you use that terminology, it's you're making the wrong point, aren't you? But I think if you make the statement that it's not commensurate and is only applicable, same with radar. This is all done and calculated using a flat plane. And I think that's probably where I try to take these older arguments to, that all of them are applied to a flat plane, be it radar or anything. There is no,
Yeah, the same applies with just seeing stuff. So I take this to the example of two guys standing over on a bridge overlooking an estuary, and on the other side of it there's a town, and in the town there's a high clock tower, and one guy who's a flat earther turns to the other guy and goes, "Oh, check it out. You can see that clock. I bet if I had binoculars I could read the time off it." And the guy next to him says, "No, that is not a clock. We are seeing too far." So in fact, based on the fact that we are seeing too far, it is a slightly looming, non-standard refraction, holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified physical geometric sphere-edge horizon that only exists in the maths and is derived from flat Earth measurements. Ergo, it is a mirage. We couldn't possibly see that clock. It is too far. Guy next to him, flat earther, says, "All right, I just see a clock. I don't have to make any apologies or explain why I see it. I've got a set of eyeballs. I open my eyes, look out over there, there's a clock. You say I shouldn't see it. It's too far. And then explain why I can bloody see it when I open my eyes." And that's what you've got to do if you're a bull believer. "What's that? We see the Chicago skyline. It shouldn't be there. It's too far. It's a mirage." Because there should be a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon that we've derived from measuring a flat Earth and the differential between surface level and eye level to infer there's a hill that only exists in maths that gets in the way when we see it. So it's not really there. That's the garbage nonsense that you've got to adhere to if you want to be a bull believer and you just want to deny the evidence of your own eyes. Or radar, or whatever else you've got as the exact same example that what should have a sphere edge in the way. No. It's not that there should automatically be an assumed sphere edge in the way and we need to explain why it isn't. You're just seeing stuff. You're just measuring stuff. You're just targeting stuff. You put a laser on the boat, you shoot the boat. That's it. What's that? We should have a hill in the... No, we shouldn't have a hill in the way. That's for our opponent to make as an outrageous claim that doesn't pad out. Don't be misinterpreting that which they have to justify their burden and where it fails as you needing to preemptively defeat that argument. You don't. You just see a clock, you just see a clock. Get on with your day. The fact that that shouldn't be there for a globe believer who thinks there should be a hill in the way but isn't, yeah, black swan. There is no hill. There is no earth curve. What are you talking about? It's just a clock.
And so that's a physical test that shows that the Earth is a plane. And there are many more, right? So really, just to reiterate it, because I think I'm coming up on the 5 minutes, the simple part is that
30 seconds.
A simple clock that say a couple 100 miles. And so that's a
No. He just said a physical test, which is an experiment to prove the Earth is a plane. That's objectively a noun. What is your phenomenon for your physical test? To assert that you have a physical test. No. This is wrong.
Just give me a sec. I think I accidentally spun the video on.
The interferometry measurements show that the Earth's not moving. It's the most precise way to measure actual measure anyway. That's how we do civil engineering to build runway Earth measurement to us by Jesuits. As the globe model's day and night cycle uses that, gravity uses by the radius. And so that's going to get into how we know for sure that this globe model, those flat runways, railways, bridges, our entire life is literally built upon the understanding the Earth's flat and the flat Earth measurements called plane survey measurements. What then happens is people take those flat Earth measurements, stitch them together, and claim the Earth's a globe with a presupposed R value. And so that's going to get into how we know for sure that this globe model that was brought to us by Jesuits is incorrect. We actually falsified the rate. We've chased physics.
30 seconds.
There we go.
A simple part is that we have our burden of proof substantiated as the default that the Earth's a stationary plane, that the stuff in the sky moves. And then the claim that the Earth is actually the opposite of that requires the burden of proof. And we went a step further and even tested that claim and falsified the rate, R value, and claim of motion. Therefore, it can't be anything other than a stationary plane.
Well, that was a crappy, wishy-washy mush of conclusions. Fine.
Okay, that was almost exactly 5
is measured and navigated flat.
And
Yeah?
well, for him, it'd be
That's it.
built on, navigated, built on, flat.
Fine, yeah.
5 minutes. Excellent open remarks. Focusing mainly on the burden of proof being on that who makes the claim. And since, your eyes, ears, whatnot, it appears that the earth is not moving, the person who claims it is moving has to make the claim. And then he backed that up with many things. Now it's Pastor
Has the burden of proof.
Shelley's turn for a 5-minute open.
Owen Benjamin's take is what the audience is going to take. He summarized it. So Witsit's position is, and I don't disagree with it, but it could be a stronger summary from Owen, that Witsit's position is, well, burden of proof's on you guys. You're the ones with the extraordinary claim. Our sensors don't tell us we're moving. Yeah. So it's flat. Now, 5 years ago, that was fine. Yeah. But we can lay a much stronger case down than that for Owen to have summarized. Yeah. That's the disappointment. I'm not overly critiquing Witsit. It's just there's certain key things that we can boldly proclaim that just aren't in there. And he knows them. I don't get it.
Yeah, you open with
Right,
Earth
like
is
with
measured
the-
flat. Every reference, every utilization of every point on the surface in terms of navigation and building is flat. It doesn't matter what your claim is in regards to your beliefs about the world, you will start with a horizontal plane of reference that you will measure. That would be to say that the Earth is measured flat. And then you launch into examples
Right.
with celestial navigation or building or whatever it is you want to slap down on the table.
Well, you can also go, because they're going to try to introduce axial rotation. This is why it's important to know your opponent's argument better than they do in a debate. Because when they introduce axial rotation later, if you already have as an understood and known statement that the stars are rotating with reference to Earth as a horizontal plane, they have no reference from which to describe those stars later on. And that's what me and Adam have been talking back and forth about. It's easier to deal with their positive claim after it's accepted as a fact, your statements.
I know we're thinking after the fact, but I think I would have wrote something if I was given the opportunity for a 5-minute ramble. This is kind of what we're developing now. I'd agree with you, John. I think with reference to the stars and who's moving, I'd say, well, what do we witness? We witness the stars moving. Right. How do we measure the stars moving? Then I'd go into flat Earth elevation angles, RA, declination, etc. But just constantly drilling that at this point, the way in which we quantify all of these star measurements are with reference to a flat plane. Get that down. It's going to destroy him later. You've got the opportunity of uninterrupted explanation. All these little bits is what I'd be putting in, not Michelson-Morley.
Opening, and I will give you the bell at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, I did have a opening statement prepared. I'm not going to be able to read that because apparently ad hominem is not allowed. So I will appeal to the parts of what I was going to say that don't necessarily bring up Bible verses or what this conversation's about. But specifically proving the Earth is a sphere takes about 30 seconds. There's plenty of YouTube videos online that prove that. You can watch them. There's 1-minute videos, 2-minute videos, 10-minute videos. There's plenty of things that appeal to all the evidences and all the proofs.
Pause. Is that not appeal to variety fallacy?
Appeal to length of time.
Debate was
There's loads of flat Earth proving videos as my opening statement. There's 1-minute videos, 2-minute videos, 3-minute videos, 5-minute videos, 20-minute videos, an hour-long video. There's loads of videos proving flat Earth. You can go and look at them. They're out there. That's your opener. Crap.
Well, it's also appealed to this proof. Why did you appeal to this ambiguous proof? What is the proof? Like, where are you at, dude?
There's proof of unicorns out there. There's loads of videos on it. They're 1 minute long, 2 minute long. You can insert anything you like there for this baseless assertion and then appeal to some format that's got the proof provided on it. It's like saying there's loads of proof out there. You can search it out. There's a methodology that's really easily accessible called Google. No, I want to know what the proof is. Well, you can look for it on Google. There's 1 minute videos, 2 minute videos. Crap. These are the numpty ramblings of globe believers and how they think that their standards are fulfilled. My standards fulfilled by saying a lot of people are talking about it on YouTube. I don't need to tell you what they're telling you or how it proves it. There's a lot of them and there's a lot of different lengths of videos.
Number one, the stars are flipped from the northern and southern hemisphere.
Hemisphere, as in the description of the angle measurements after angle measurements have been taken with respect to a plane and described in the celestial sphere with respect to a flat plane. That's how they're measured. See, this is where Adam and John's discussion made perfect sense in hindsight. Glad you had it preemptively, because we didn't know this was going to happen. Had it been the case that Adam and John and their discussion about what should potentially happen before this occurs is that Witsit would have already pegged down, rather than Michelson-Morley and the false dichotomy of Einstein, it would be that when you're describing an axis of rotation of the stars, you are describing the movements, and the movements are tracked with respect to their angles from the horizon. They are unequivocally being measured with respect to a flat Earth to describe the celestial sphere. Now, what he's saying is, when I take the celestial sphere North Pole centric and the inferred celestial sphere South Pole centric and sandwich those two flat Earth models antipodal from one another and then insert a globe burger in the middle of it, I can suggest that by affirming the consequent, if I assume hemispherical positioning, then moving to the south hemisphere will prove we've got hemispherical positioning. No, the measurements that take you to your affirming the consequent of hemispherical positioning required the angle measurements of the stars with respect to a flat plane. And the inference is a celestial sphere that you can then describe in a hemispherical manner with respect to the flat plane the angles came from. It's only then that you can insert your sphere into those flat Earth measurements. Had it been the case that what John and Adam had discussed previously was already inserted by Witsit, to describe the angles of the stars you will need a flat plane to do it, this now would have been overcome preemptively, because he thinks that an affirming the consequent for hemispherical positioning proves he's on a sphere. No, mate, it's an affirming the consequence formal logical fallacy. If Earth is a sphere, begging the question, then we will observe hemispherical positioning when I assume Earth's a sphere. We do observe hemispherical observational positioning when I've assumed Earth's a sphere. Therefore, Earth's a sphere. It's an affirming the consequent, you stupid idiot. Immediately opening the gate with a logical fallacy rather than a proof of Earth's sphericity. Pathetic. Standard. Fair. Go ahead.
So do you think he's actually going to go with different rotations in the north and south hemispheres?
Oh, if he mucks this up in the next sentence, I will have given him so much more credit than he deserved. Let's see if he does.
Which makes it abundantly clear that we're on a sphere. And yeah, people are walking upside down to us. And additionally, we see the sun.
Sorry, that baseless assertion you feel is going to make people believe you more? Yeah, people are walking upside down from us. Number one, it's called antipodal. When I described the flat Earth system that gave you the celestial sphere over a flat plane in terms of the angle measurements to give you that system, the description of the southern hemisphere in the celestial sphere model described with measurements from a flat plane and detailed as a flat plane with a dome of the heavens, the stars over it, you need to utilize that description of flat Earth measurements in an antipodal manner. People walking upside down is a consequence of your hijacking of this measurement of a flat Earth in an antipodal celestial sphere system that in both respects of the antipodal positioning are a flat plane to describe that antipodal positioning. That does not mean that the consequence of that flat Earth hijacking, that would be to say that people would be walking upside down from your position, is anything more than an absurd problem that this creates for you. Not a proof. What a stupid idiot. It's a problem that it creates after you've hijacked the flat Earth plane that is used for the celestial sphere. My God, people really are ignorant of what's going on here, aren't they? When they're on the globe side.
Sunrise in the east, set in the west. We have thousands of photos and videos.
Sunrise in the east, that's a flat Earth direction. Sets in the west, flat Earth direction. How would we describe the movement? Well, it's angles with respect to the horizontal plane of reference, utilizing the horizon and its angle above it, and then moving towards it. So that would be 2 flat Earth prerequisites just to have that sentence. You've proven a flat Earth twice with that. Go on, who's rustling off mute in one deck? Go ahead.
Sorry,
deck,
Nathan.
You're off mute.
Sorry.
Videos of the Earth
Oh, it's not showing.
from satellites.
You're not sorry. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, the Earth's flat and it's measured flat, and everybody needs to get a grip of that.
Yeah, he's just used it flat twice. Describing how the sun moves across the sky will be described with elevation angles with respect to a flat plane. East and west, those are directions that require horizontal. What's he babbling about? He's using a flat Earth to make his claim that Earth's a sphere. It's absurd.
Sent over by 90 countries. There's over 90 countries that have set up satellites. It's that simple.
Sorry, sent up satellites. When you say up, you mean the direction with respect to ground level? Up. Yet you'll need perpendicular to horizontal for that, mate. You don't have that on a sphere. There is no up on a sphere. You've got out from the centre of Earth that will also need to be described with a horizontal plane of reference to have the axis. But you don't have up. You've got out. You need a flat Earth for up. I mean, it's obviously going to be the case that in terms of how we physically deal with the reality that befalls us, we're going to describe it in terms that we actually deal with, like up and down, very simplistic terms. The problem is that in your stupid reified sphere model that was derived from flat Earth measurements of angles to things like the sun, you think you can still use the term up. No, that's our term, mate. Get your own terms. You need a flat Earth for up.
The Earth is obviously a sphere. It's been observed.
Oh, really? You feel that it's observed what at the horizon, debunked in 2020 with the Black Swan, or observed from a sky vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics to take pictures from space of the gas below violating the second law and not dispersing into the area the picture's taken from? I'm going to go with no, it's a second law of thermodynamics violation to describe a sky vacuum to take pictures of Earth as a sphere from space. There is no space. Gas fills space. We're breathing high pressure gas.
It's been
Hence why it was
tested.
important
Everything.
in your preamble to mention you can't have gas pressure without a container. Like I said, you didn't need to go into any more. Wait for him to make his claim. He's made his claim. We've got communication devices floating in a second law violation.
Also, this is a point where you could detail that the concept of infinite or near infinite distances are applicable only in the celestial sphere, and that's with respect to a flat plane. So even that concept requires a flat Earth.
Yeah, they just keep doing it. We've just got to keep barking and banging the same old drum that points out that all the glober's trick is to use flat Earth measurements and take those measurements, calculate them into sphericity, and then claim that they've won. When in reality, all they're doing time and time and time again is using flat Earth descriptions, like up, like north, east, south, and west. Yeah? When he's describing the path of the sun, it is factually measured. It's used in our mapping system for longitude. So we've got a system in place on a flat Earth and angles to the sun measured off a flat Earth. That is factually how these systems are derived. They're the ones that have actually got practical application. So Earth is practically dealt with as a flat plane, and the descriptions prove it. He's using them too to claim it's a sphere. We're not seeing this.
We have thousands of photos and videos of the Earth from satellites sent over by 90 countries. There's over 90 countries that have set up satellites. It's that simple. The Earth is obviously a sphere. It's been observed. It's been tested. Everything we experience in our lives confirms a spherical Earth as well.
Okay, you don't test if something's a sphere, right? You can measure something in terms of its sphericity, but it's not a test. Yeah, you're in a category error. Go ahead, whoever that was.
So all I'm hearing is, it is a ball, it is a ball, because it's a ball. I've not heard anything from him.
Yes, guys, real weak source.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the orbital claim and the satellite claim, this would be a good time to take him to what the Keplerian elements are, what the orbital elements are, and how they're with respect to a flat Earth.
Can you explain what essentially what you're explaining is that orbits require a flat Earth? He's already appealed to them, but based on the conversation we've had up until now, I didn't want to preemptively drop that in, so I hadn't mentioned it. But at this juncture, could you please explain why and how orbits need a flat plane of reference in order to describe them in the Keplerian motion? Also, I need to step away for a second, and hopefully that'll give me time to do so.
Yeah, there's 7 elements to orbital mechanics, right? You have eccentricity, which is a deviation from horizontal. That's to describe gravity, which they've not got into that claim yet. So, but the horizontal bit is what I will stick to and say the horizontal requires that eye level be that plane of reference that you'll describe horizontal from, and that surface level is also horizontal parallel with your eye level. So you have eccentricity, then you have a time element, which is measured with respect to a flat plane because you're taking angles to account for that time. Then you have apogee and perigee, which are elevation angles. Goodness, all of them. And then the Keplerian elements, it's the same issue. All of their descriptions are with reference to a flat Earth. And they think somehow they can use references to a flat Earth to prove that it's not a flat Earth, is what we've got. It's kind of the absurdity of it all.
I was considering rounding out at this point, but I'm actually quite enjoying this. It's quite laid back in that regard. Is everyone happy to continue live? I know the audience will be like, yeah, 100%. If not, I'm going to round out if everyone just wants to chill out, chat in the after show.
No, keep it going, Nathan. Keep it going, man.
Okay.
Keep it going. I like this.
As, a heliocentric viewpoint of our solar system specifically. And additionally, when it comes to history, the Bible, or science, they all appeal to the exact same thing. In Isaiah 40, verse 22, the Bible says it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. And the Bible...
Another Christian that doesn't know what circle means. Circles are flat and two-dimensional, my friend.
Bible has always known about the shape of the earth. It's always...
It's a reification fallacy. The Bible's a book. It doesn't know things.
Known about different cosmology and different things that we experience, see in our universe. And science is always catching...
What? What is he babbling about?
Up to the Bible specifically. For a long time, I honestly didn't believe...
Oh, is he not going to qualify that? I wanted to know what you were babbling about. Clearly not going to get to find out.
That flat earthers even existed. So, it definitely is something that, for me, I was not aware of. I kind of thought it was just fake.
Argument from ignorance fallacy.
Well, also the idea that they weren't flat earthers, it's impossible. They had to originally be flat earthers to develop the concepts that you're going to use to claim it's a sphere with. So, yeah, you're going to have, if you deny them, you deny the sphere you believe.
So the audience is appealing to me to continue. Len Lyric says, keep going, 137 watching, now 139 watching. Great, yeah, I mean, I should really thank everybody who's just joined us. So if you've just joined the stream, very warm welcome to you. I'll do the same call to action I did a couple of minutes back. Please share the show if you've not done so already. There's a good chance that the reason there's 139 people watching is because people have smashed that share button. So it'd be wonderful to have 150 people watching. And as I say, this particular video is being done by popular demand of the audience, as opposed to the panel, who very few of them had heard of it or even watched it. Not that that's generally the case. We haven't normally watched these videos. But I will also do a different call to action, which is along a similar lines, but hopefully you will just click the share button for this video, my video, and get it out to a few other people. So hopefully we can have 150 people watching, which would be lovely. It's only a couple of clicks. You click share, and then it asks you where you want to share it to. You'll see the thing that you're familiar with. If you're familiar with Facebook and use that, click on Facebook, and it will just take you instantly to a little link with the predisposed connection to this video. You don't even have to write anything. You just click send, and it will just put it onto whatever your wall or whatever it is that the software uses for your communication on Facebook or X or whatever, Bebo, MySpace. Anyway, it's 2 clicks. Please share this show. Also, I did, and I will do again now, a call to action in regards to the videographer that we are covering now, which is the Baptist Bias. So in this respect, I will put a link to the videographer's video, so you can at least share some love with that videographer. And let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 on YouTube sent me. And please leave him a nice comment or whatever it is you do when you go and let someone know that I've sent you to their video, helping them in the algorithmic love that, at least here on YouTube, we definitely do know how to get afforded as flat earthers. So hopefully if they were to do a response, they'd stick a link to this video in their video about us. So there's a couple of call to actions. 141 people watching. Someone's definitely smashed the share button. Once again, thank you very much to all of you who did share the show. Right, let's continue.
And yet I have run into some people that, you know, do a claim, like in my personal life that I know that are flat earthers. And there's been some people that have changed their mind. So I do think that it is possible for someone to change their mind on this particular issue. When it comes to their specific evidences, you know, it seems like they have about 6 basic categories that I typically find their arguments. It seems like, number one, they typically appeal to experiments where they see things further away than expected. These are
Yeah, so what he's doing is taking that argument that I explained earlier with the 2 guys. So he's saying the flat earther would actually say, we see too far. No, mate. In my scenario with the guys looking at the clock in the distance, flat earther's just got a set of eyeballs and can just see a clock, and there's no explanation required whatsoever for the flat earther. But you suggest that flat earthers say we're seeing too far past the earth curve edge that you claim. Now, you've got a misunderstanding about whose claim is whose. Too far is your apology for why there's not an earth curve there. That has sod all to do with flat earthers. But it would be far more convenient, and has been for the last 10 years, for you to push that idea that seeing too far is a flat earth argument. No, it isn't. It's your apologetic apology for why we don't have earth curve blocking a clock. Now, that long-winded ramble about the fact it's not a clock you're seeing, it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic projection of a clock from behind the physical reified sphere edge horizon derived from flat earth measurements of surface level and eye level. Therefore, it's not a clock, it's a mirage. We see too far, is your argument and apology for your failure to have an earth curve blocking the clock. It's not our argument. You're very confused, it seems. What's his name? Jonathan. Very, very confused.
typically over large bodies of water, and they don't really consider refraction or elevation changes.
Elevation? What, as in the height above surface level? That's a flat earth proof when we don't consider how high we are above flat earth. Yeah, you'll need those too, won't you, to infer how high we are above the flat earth when you describe your geometric sphere edge horizon that isn't blocking things as the maths said it is. Therefore, flat earther says too far. No, wrong. Go ahead. Someone's keen.
Also, their refraction, they call refraction, it's actually mathematical inflation. All of those measurements to calculate that were done with respect to a flat plane, not a curve.
Right.
So to even assert... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, when he says refraction, he's a globe believer. He's got a globe next to him. Ergo, his refraction is, in globe context, terrestrial refraction, which is 7/6 of a radius, or any derivation thereof. Well, 7/6 of a radius requires a radius, and the radius that is measured off a flat Earth. It's the minimum elevation angle measurement to Polaris with respect to a flat plane and an angle. That is a flat Earth measurement that gives you the R in his terrestrial. He just didn't know the name of his own refraction. So terrestrial refraction needs a flat Earth measurement. The R value is measured flat. Go ahead, John.
Well, not only that, but
go ahead.
Me?
Yeah. I cut you off. We both had a rounding out point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Andrew Thomas Young said in his opening that all of his studies were done with respect to a flat plane. That means that you can only recreate what they will assert is happening is with respect to a flat plane.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be measured.
That means yes.
Sorry.
So they don't have anything. It's a nothing burger. It's nonsensical at best.
Absolutely. I should try and exercise a little more self-control when I'm excited about your point.
Another thing that they do is they appeal to simple observations like it looks fat and it feels flat. However, you can't always feel movement in a car or an airplane.
Looks flat, feels flat, can't feel movement. Sorry, when you're describing looks flat, feels flat, and then juxtaposing that with how you'd feel movement, that's a non sequitur. The two aren't connected. You seem to be convoluting two different descriptions of two different things in two different arguments. No, we would say...
And he...
Go ahead. Is that Casey?
Sorry, I was going to say he also just contradicted himself because before he said that we observe sphere, now he just said it looks flat.
Well, he's presenting what the flat earthers would say as an argument.
Oh, right.
Additionally, they appeal to the Bible, but the Bible is not compatible with their model whatsoever.
What model, number one? Well, the model that we will be using in this case, if we're going to take at face value what you've described thus far, it's the celestial sphere model, which is in respect to a flat plane. You'll need that for your globe model. Meanwhile, I've forgotten the other point you made, so we'll just keep playing.
Number 4, they usually appeal to the fact that government lies about things like 9/11, vaccines.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. There's a lot of flat earth numpties that have been brought to this discussion through a road of conspiracy. I object to it. I had to stroll along it myself. Go ahead.
The lie part is an appeal to motivation, right? So not everybody that asserts heliocentrism is a liar. But if people claim that they have went and experienced a place that violates natural law, you can straight up call those people a liar. But not everybody's lying.
JFK. And sure, the government does lie a lot, but that doesn't prove that they're lying about the shape of the Earth. The fifth one that they usually bring up is discarded or debunked alternative scientific theories, such as geocentrism, the ether.
So, notice he already knows who his opponent is, and he's preemptively attacking the garbage waffle that he's going to hear from Witsit.
We even heard earlier the appeal to the Michelson-Morley experiment. However, that was based on the fact that the Earth is moving, and it did not prove that the Earth doesn't move. It proved...
What he's saying is, he can affirm the consequent with Michelson-Morley. Yeah, wow, I can't believe this.
That simply they can't detect any ether, and so the ether was discarded shortly after. It was decided that the speed of light is a constant.
Yeah, unless you understand the Coriolis argument, you're always going to be stuck in this false dichotomy with we say the ground spins, you say the sky turns. And if you've got some skin in the race of I must prove the sky's turning as a result of something I'm going to claim called ether, you're going to be stuck in this false dichotomy with a neutral outcome no matter what happens. Very unfortunate. I tried to resolve this problem before Bob died over on Globebusters. It didn't obviously work. You know,
actually, we might be able to solve it now, though. Instead of pointing out the affirming the consequent, I think it would be better to point out that both of their descriptions are with respect to a flat plane. So you're either asserting the flat plane is turning within the celestial sphere, or you're asserting the flat plane is stationary and the celestial sphere moves around it.
Oh, that is beautiful. Yes, that makes me smile. So rather than pointing out that it's a neutral outcome false dichotomy, point out that both of the false dichotomy sides use a horizontal plane of reference to describe axial rotation of the sky or ground. You'll need a flat plane, mathematically speaking, to describe either. If you're going to describe it with respect to measurements, then the measurements will be angular relationships of the stars described from a flat plane.
And does anybody else find it terribly depressing that this gentleman's best rebuttal is against the ether? The only bit I've heard where he's researched and informed is in his rebuttal to ether, which was very succinct and powerful.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'll just answer you anyway, because you asked. No, it's not disappointing, it's telling. Because we've been saying for ages that if you utilise this garbage nonsense waffle, your opponent will spot it a mile away and focus in on it. And by way of his crap garbage evidence, oh, there's loads of proofs that Earth's a sphere. There's loads of videos. There's 1 minute videos, 2 minute videos. When it comes to ether, and then he's launched into all the research he's actually done that he's got at his fingertips to oppose Witsit. And here it is, telling you, the audience, which bits he's researched. And he's gone, oh, I see that glaring wound. I'll just rip that open. Go on, Adam, I cut you off because you asked a question, but carry on. 147 watching, almost 150. I'm cutting you off immediately. Woohoo! Almost 150 people watching. Thank you for sharing the show. Welcome to all of you who just joined us. Go ahead, Adam.
I had 150 up there for a minute, worth interrupting. Now, generally, that's sad. That there's 2 points. Maybe it is just because he's against Witsit and he knew Witsit was going to bring this up. But it could also be that this is considered a flat Earth argument, and that's the thing that's kind of sad.
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah, that is saddening.
Constant. And so if the speed of light is a constant, it really disrupts a lot of those older scientific theories. And
you don't know what science is, my friend, so trying to undo what is claimed to be science from Witsit's side won't leave you in any greater position, even though you've researched Witsit's garbage, what science is. Yeah. So again, even though you're undermining Witsit with this, doesn't change the fact that you, nor he, in this regard, will adhere to what science actually is. The more egregious fact, although it's not levelled at you, is that Witsit does know what science is, which is pretty egregious in my opinion.
ether was basically discarded as being unuseful in predicting anything. The sixth thing that typically flat earthers will do is they will appeal to the fact that there's bad science. And of course there is when it comes.
There's a category error. If you're going to be claiming science for the shape of a sphere that you're claiming after taking flat earth measurements, that's not science. Cause and effect reasoning, establishing why something that you witnessed in nature, that's a phenomena, occurred by formulating a hypothesis, supposing a cause, and varying that cause in an experiment to see if it causes it or not. This is not that. You don't know what science is.
Comes to the Big Bang Theory, when it comes to evolution, these things are complete junk. They're not true. They're made up. And so they kind of...
Yeah, that is true. Again, you're offering up your opponent's position. I mean, we could give you the same critique that we give for Witsit, but we did that out of love in an effort to sharpen his tools, so I won't be giving you the same critique for this garbage. Long may it continue.
Kind of appeal to that as a gateway into the idea that there's other lies, other bad science, and they suggest that somehow...
Again, it's just an annoying category error. Bad science. No, science only has empirical outcomes if adhered to correctly. That's the scientific method. That would be observe phenomena, formulate a hypothesis, experiment to validate your presumed cause. That's outcome specific. It's empirical. Bad science? What do you mean bad science? If I vary and manipulate something and it doesn't cause the effect, I have proven my null. There's no bad science. Oh, unless you don't know what science is.
The heliocentric view or the spherical Earth is somehow bad science again.
It's just a stupid idiot describing a category error. You think a shape is science? No, that's stupid.
But when it comes to, this specific situation, I think it's really clear that this is just a distraction from what's really important. And I
Appeal to motivation fallacy.
think that Owen kind of brought this up earlier, and the idea that this isn't the biggest issue necessarily. I think it's a distraction from the gospel of Jesus Christ. I think that that's our sole purpose on this earth, is to get saved and to give people the gospel so that they could be saved. And it seems like every time I run into
Hallelujah. Non sequitur fallacy.
a flat earther, they only want to talk about that. Like, they're just so ardent and just so vitriolic for that particular viewpoint. It just seems like their whole worldview. And so
No, it's ironically your whole worldview. The globe that's sat next to you is derived from measurements of a flat earth. So as crazy as this may sound, for you to bark on about how spherical you think the world is, it's your whole worldview that we're using measurements of a flat plane, because that's the basis of your globe religion. How ironic.
So, I do think that it's certainly a distraction. I have a lot of other strong opinions about that, but I'll keep them to myself for now. So we're good to go.
Okay, so that concluded Pastor Shelley's opening
Where was his 30 seconds remaining?
statement, and his argument rested on 2-minute, 5-minute, and 10-minute YouTube videos existing. 90 countries have said so. The government sometimes doesn't lie.
At least Benjamin picked up on the crappiest opener ever. Kudos.
And that flat earthers rely too much on experiments, how things look and feel. He knows some people who have changed his mind. And
Look at this guy looking down as he's berated by Owen. This is absolutely brilliant. Oh, being chastised by Owen. Brilliant.
the speed of light is a constant. One question I would ask, because a lot of what his argument rested on was the church. Was the church always heliocentric, globe-based?
What's he doing? I thought he was the moderator.
Even before Galileo. So was it always this? Because you said science catches up to the globe. I'm just curious, was the church always a globe?
You're right to have that look slapped all over your Chevy Chase there, Witsit. He's going, what? Will I get to give him my response now? Oh, well, you did really well, but fair enough, Owen. You've overstepped your boundaries a little bit, but what the hell? You be you.
Model.
Just to be clear, I said the Bible. So just because people may have bad interpretations or not understand the Bible,
okay, good.
doesn't mean that the Bible is wrong. Additionally, I think it's impossible to always know what happened throughout history. But yes, historically, Christianity, there's been plenty of Christians that have believed in a spherical earth, but there have been people that have denied that. So I think it's a mixed bag. I would not say it's all one or the other.
Man, I'm far more inclined to warm to him after that little back and forth between him and Owen. And also, it felt like he'd been robbed of an extra 30 seconds. So that kind of feels like it's evened things up a bit. I don't know if anybody cares about my attitude in terms of how fair things are, but there we go. That's my 2 pennyworth.
Well, Galileo was arrested for thinking the Earth moved in the 17th
I want to hear Witsit. What's going on?
century.
See Witsit shifting uncomfortably in his chair. Don't blame me, mate.
So that's not exactly a mixed bag. But anyway, so now we're going to kick it over to Witsit Gets It for a...
He was right on the border of stepping way over the line there, wasn't he? I mean, he kept it just brief enough to get away with that, I think Owen. Benjamin did there. Would we all agree? Took a liberty, didn't overstep the mark too far for too long.
a 3-minute rebuttal to Pastor Shelley's opening statements. Go ahead, 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So on the scriptural thing, I mean, you obviously brought up Isaiah 40:22, and that circle, a specifically different word in Hebrew than he uses just before that, which is a different word for ball. So he specifically doesn't call it ball. And I actually have seen a video of you, and I didn't look too much into it.
Pardon me? One more time?
May I point something out about the format? The rebuttals should be longer because you have to state their claim and then what you have to say in response to that claim. So it should be 3-minute openers, 5-minute rebuttals. Is just my point.
Fair enough.
To it, but you said I hear a bunch of people say Hebrew cosmology, and you said, yeah, well, the Jews are wrong about everything. Well, you know, the Messiah was a Jew, I guess, right? And I
mean, this is where I would fail miserably, where I don't know how to critique this, because it's just not the angle I'd take, and I'd get criticised for not addressing the point if I was to say, well, the cosmology itself, if you want to call it that, has been derived from angle measurements to the stars in terms of their relationship with the horizon. That's an angle measurement off a flat Earth. And in terms of why the Bible says this, that, and the other, it just seems non sequitur to the argument because I've got proof that it's measured flat. So I don't really know why we're discussing this, would be my attitude. But then I'd be cast down for like, well, you're not addressing his Bible verse about he's sitting on the circle of the earth. So, you know, you've non sequitured away from that point, right? Would be the criticism that I'd receive. So maybe I would be, you know, I'd put my hands up here and go, maybe I'd be failing here. I don't know.
I think he would have probably said, hey, you guys got the first part of the book wrong. So it's a wild argument to me. It obviously says it's immovable and fixed. It's you have to claim that the scriptures creation description is not literal. But I can prove that the scriptures.
What? Did he level at his opponent that he would say that the scriptures aren't literal? Or is he suggesting himself that the scriptures aren't literal?
No, he's leveling it at the opponent.
Okay, fine.
Literally correct outside of it, right? And so I find that part very interesting. Truth doesn't fear investigation, and that's what makes it so fascinating. And so we just can cover quickly the stuff you got wrong. You said that they discovered that the speed of light was constant. No, that's not correct. He assumed that it was because it had to be along with time dilation and length contraction. In fact, it's been proven not to be. There's anisotropic signal propagation accounted for even in GPS. You brought up satellites, so I guess we can get into it. But
so GPS is a commonly used system in terms of the map that it actually uses. It's using the Mercator projection. And the Mercator projection is taken from a sphere that's been projected out onto a tube to be rolled out flat so that you've got a square grid system with latitude and longitude as opposed to a circle system like you have when you measure it with Polaris and the Sun. Well, that transformation into a globe took place based on the angle measurements to the stars and lights in the sky. Well, that's a flat Earth measurement in terms of GPS, but here we are again, using things that could be used to prove a flat Earth to argue about Michelson-Morley and ether. So there's a wasted opportunity, and that wasted opportunity is highlighted when he says GPS. Because for me, when GPS is brought up by my opponent, not me, I would immediately hammer him over the head with the fact that the Mercator projection requires a flat Earth to derive the grid system that's on that map that's flat. For his satellites in orbit, not how they're being used on the map. And the grid system's been measured from a flat Earth, so... But no, we're not doing that. We're talking about rotational values for ether, aren't we? That's what we're really edging towards. That's his ulterior motive. That's his angle. Not a flat Earth angle to prove angles of Earth measured flat. No, his angle is to get ether discussed as quickly as possible.
Satellites in no way prove the Earth's a globe. They actually use ellipses over a plane with a change of velocity relative to the center of the coordinate system and real inertia.
He said that real quick. That was good. Just a bit too quick.
Inertial forces of a rotating universe, which are geocentric physics in their equations.
At least he highlighted the plane in that. I'm going to listen to that again. I was pretty concise and pretty quick, which I can criticise because I want him to labour at these points, but I also want them to be exceptionally concise, and that really was, wasn't it? When he actually said the statement.
Actually use ellipses over a plane with a change of velocity relative to the center of the coordinate system and real...
Man, that is super concise. I might write that down. That was epic. Oh, man, this is like... Go on.
No, I was going to say that was well done. And that is an accurate description of what they do.
Accurate, concise, better than I could do it. Just sometimes from Witsit, there are glimmers of truly epic greatness. They're not enough to shine through the turd in the punch bowl that he leaves with ether, though, are they? But I have to give credit where credit's due.
real inertial forces of a rotating universe, which are geocentric physics in their equations. It actually is.
Strapped right on the end is the rotational aspect he needs for ether. So even when he's got a really good, concise description of the flat Earth that's needed, it might be in vernacular that you need to be on the cutting edge of this discussion to understand, but it doesn't make any difference to me. It was concise as all hell. Great. But then it's immediately before he takes breath, slapped on with the rotational values and not linked back to the axis and the plane of reference. There we go. That's Witsit's bag. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, instead of saying the plane of reference, using the flat Earth as a reference, because they're going to claim the plane of reference as well, right? Like they can, but you need to take that away from them at this point. You're in the rebuttal. You need to be taking away their plane of reference.
Yeah, and that is the best way to phrase it, the flat Earth we are referencing, because that is precisely what we're doing.
Evidence for geocentrism if satellites are up above us. You said that Michelson-Morley just failed to detect the ether. That's just patently incorrect. It was the relative motion of the Earth in the ether. What they were trying to detect was literally the motion of the Earth at 30 kilometers per second through an ether. They didn't. They threw the ether out. They then said that time slowed down, that the measuring apparatus contracted to deceive them into thinking that the Earth was stationary. You say we just say that we see too far. Well, yeah, there's physical limits to living on a sphere, and it doesn't comport to what we see. And we've seen hundreds of miles where there should be literally 3, 4, 5 vertical miles blocking what we see.
Oh, he almost did really well. Now he's back onto the assertion that Flat Earther would have the assertion that we see too far because, according to what he's just said, there should be a massive amount of drop. No, you, the globe heads, say that there is a massive amount of drop derived from surface level, which we measure. You see, there's a flat Earth proof in their globe maths, but we're leaning on their need for us to be the claimant that say it's too far. Too far assumes there should be a sphere edge in the way. It's their claim that they want us to be reiterating so they can challenge their own claim and show how too far isn't really too far. It's a non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock.
Well, the really interesting thing is how they describe drop, because they describe drop. You know, you have to have drop from something to something. And in the mathematics, it's described with a surface level to a horizon below the surface level. So they're basically saying, so there's a drop from surface level to where surface level appears to meet the sky. It makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense, because the maths that you use, like Al-Biruni, need a flat Earth measured in the first instance, then derive a curving away from you surface that defies the first measurement. If you're deriving how much drop there is from surface level, that's Earth curve, you need a surface level to have it dropping from. They need a flat Earth for Earth curve maths. Yet we're in the paradigm where we, flat Earthers, say we see too far. No, I just see a clock. We need to get out of our thick skulls that we are affirming their globe position. When you just see something, you just see something. You don't need to apologise for it, explain it. There's no explanation required. They have a failed claim of an Earth that gets in the way. Is it getting in the way? No, but that's because we see too far. That's their claim and apology, not ours.
And so you're going to have to verify the claim that it's all an illusion. So I'll just reiterate the point again. You have the burden of proof to substantiate the...
He's bought into it. So you have to verify the claim that the clock is a mirage. Does he? So if he verifies the claim that the clock is a mirage, then it's just a clock. Why is it suddenly the argument that he has to verify that the clock that you see with your own bloody eyes is a mirage? That's not the argument. The argument is, how are you going to infer that refraction brings back a clock from behind a geometric sphere edge that is only in existence in a maths that claims the drop of that sphere edge is calculable from surface level that is a flat Earth? That's ludicrous.
These claims, you basically just use a baseless assertion fallacy over and over, and then you kind of appeal to consensus, and then you...
Now you're just listing off fallacies rather than addressing his points and proving how they need a flat Earth to use them.
You use a bunch of stereotype fallacies and poisoning the well fallacies.
Yeah, he is literally just going to list off names of fallacies without example. I suppose he has only got 3 minutes.
And then reification fallacies and affirming the consequent fallacies.
Lots of fallacies. You need to detail them and put them into the example with the if P and Q and Q therefore P if you're going to say he's affirmed the consequent. I mean, he has. If Earth is a sphere, we'll have antipodal positioning. We have antipodal positioning, therefore Earth's a sphere. I mean, it takes 10 seconds. But if you just rattle off a load of fallacies, the audience is just going to say, if they're dumb, oh yeah, you used a lot of fallacies. No, they're not. Not if they're not on your side.
And none of that is obviously going to cut it logically.
That's one thing
We'll have to get.
I'll give.
Go on.
I want to give Witsit the benefit of the doubt on this one because he only has 3 minutes to his opponent's 5 minutes of horseshit. Pardon my French. Sorry. He's not going to be able to do that. He's not going to be able to detail by example their claim and then detail how it's fallacious and why.
Right, so you pick the ones that will lead to a flat Earth measurement in the first instance, point out how it's an affirming the consequent, and then point out how to affirm antipodal positioning would require the derivation of a flat Earth angle measurement to Polaris off a flat plane, to place southern and northern celestial sphere in a hemispherical flat plane derivative, for you to infer that men are walking upside down in an antipodal flat map, sandwiched upside down from the other. That's what I would do, because it proves a flat Earth with his examples. Pick one if you've only got 3 minutes. Pick two if you get an extra couple of minutes because you've managed to get through the first in 30 seconds. Pick the third, so long as they all lead to a flat Earth measurement that he needs to make his claims, and it's reiterated at every opportunity in rebuttal.
Get more into actual evidence.
I agree.
Okay, and also, I'm not trying to come across as biased. I really am just listing someone's arguments. Swear to God, I wasn't trying to be like.
Well, you can prove that now by poo-pooing some of Witsit's crap arguments then, which you'll do like you did with the other guy. The guy's smirking because he knows you won't do that, but we'll see if I'm proven wrong and he smirks proven right.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and be less biased. No, I literally made a list of your arguments and I read them back. All right, anyway, so that was Witsit Gets It responding to yours, and now...
So he's actually just justifying why he isn't doing it to Witsit by saying, I'm going to be less biased. So after being incredibly biased and only critiquing your side as the moderator, after the rebuttal, I will declare that I'm going to be less biased and therefore not critique Witsit for anything he just said. I see.
Now I'm going to give you, Mr. Pastor Anderson, 3 minutes to respond to his. And I will say this, thank you for the lack of ad hominems. It means a lot to me. It really, truly does. And I do appreciate it, and it shows a lot of honor, okay? And just for the record, I don't know what the Earth is, so I'm not this guy. I'm not like biased.
Did anybody ask? Neither of them asked, did they?
In that sense.
Pardon?
I do. I know the Earth is flat. I know what the Earth is, and so do all of them. They just won't say it.
And so do you if you're watching. You know why it's flat and how it's flat.
I'm just a stickler when it comes to logic fallacies. Okay. Pastor Shelley, you have 3 minutes. Go.
No problem. You accidentally called me Pastor Anderson, but you clarified again secondly. Austin did not address the fact that the stars are flipped from the southern and northern hemisphere, which was
And affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, if Earth is a sphere, we'll have antipodal positioning. We have antipodal positioning because Earth is a sphere. Affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that relies on the measurements of the angles with respect to a flat plane in the north and south hemisphere to derive an antipodal flat Earth measured system with a sphere of the heavens wrapped around it after measuring it with angles on a flat Earth. You're affirming the consequent fallacy is garbage. It just wasn't addressed in that manner by Witsit.
Was my first argument. Additionally, he didn't address the fact that the sun is rising in the east and setting in the west, which is my
East and west being directions on a flat Earth. Rising will be described with angles of elevation off a flat plane. Both prove a flat Earth. When I heard you say it, I pointed out how you needed 2 flat Earth proving points to make that simple statement.
my second argument. Third argument was all.
Just so we're all clear, that undermines every aspect of these so-called arguments. They're failed attempts and logical fallacies.
The videos and photos that I brought up,
What, 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 3 minute? Yeah, amazing. You didn't actually detail what the proof contained within those various lengths of videos was to prove your point. It's called a begging the question fallacy.
Did not address my third argument. He likes to appeal to theoretical physics and
Yeah, he does.
act like he's smart and like
I would say Witsit's pretty smart, as much as we decry him for his declarations of his own intelligence in terms of his IQ. But Witsit's no stupid idiot, that's for sure.
he knows what he's talking about on those issues, but he's wrong. And specifically
on
when it
those
comes to
specific
the
issues.
Michelson-Morley experiment, he's wrong again.
Yeah, I'd agree.
They already know the fact that the Earth is moving around the sun. What
That's a begging the question fallacy. If they already know it, why would you need to be making declarations about it? If it was self-evident, there'd be no debate. It isn't, and the declarations thereof require flat plane measurements.
it disproved was the ether. But I don't really care about getting into theoretical physics because we have so many simple proofs that he wants to ignore and not talk about.
What did he ignore that was a simple proof? You didn't provide any. You just detailed your points that he didn't rebut, and they didn't include any simple proofs of a globe. So what are you babbling about? Baseless assertion fallacy.
That clearly proved the shape of the
but
Earth.
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right that a heliocentrist attack ether as space-time is essentially a description of ether. It is showing a wave over distance. A wave is described through time. So, yeah, they both have space-time. Why is he decrying, or they both have ether, why is he decrying his space-time ether as opposed to Witsit's flat Earth ether?
Yeah,
Doesn't make
Witsit's
sense.
ether versus his space-time are effectively the same piss in a different bottle. He nor Witsit realise that.
Earth and a heliocentric model. I would
Alrighty, you're going to provide us this model? Are we going to see it? You didn't provide it.
love to discuss Isaiah 40, verse 22. He brought up the Hebrew underlying word, which is hug. I'm sure he doesn't speak Hebrew. And specifically, if we look at this word in all translations,
That was an ad hominem fallacy. Pretty sure you committed to not doing that.
it appeals to the exact same
Right,
thing.
does that
If we
change
look
the
up the
fact
word
that's what it
circle
means?
in the dictionary,
Yeah, it doesn't. It's an ad hominem fallacy. Saying I know he doesn't speak Hebrew doesn't change the definition of the word.
Right.
it will tell you that it's a sphere and it's the Earth and it's an orb.
The Bible will tell you it's a sphere and an orb, will it? Okay, let's see you substantiate that claim.
So he just wants to hide
Oh, you're not going to. Baseless assertion fallacy.
behind just sounding smart on these issues. But the problem is
Another ad hominem fallacy. You couldn't help yourself.
the Bible's very clear. And I get offended by someone that wants to say that the Bible is teaching a flat Earth because that would, in my mind, be heretical.
You get offended because it would be heresy if the Bible said it was flat Earth. So because of your viewpoint, if the Bible says something that contradicts your viewpoint, it's heresy. No. Heresy would be
The
decrying
Bible's
what the Bible
committed
actually
heresy.
says, would it not? Go ahead.
Yeah. He's basically said the Bible is committed heresy.
Yes.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my
Yeah.
life.
If it doesn't comport with his worldview, it's heresy, is essentially what he's just said when describing the antithesis of heresy. i.e. comporting to what the word of the Bible says.
And it's very
That's
clear that
not-
the Bible is
Go ahead.
Heresy relates to doctrine, so a viewpoint. So the Bible's clear, and you can formulate a doctrine on that. So the issue is, so I wouldn't call that a heresy. Heresy is something against his doctrine. So it is a heresy to him to read the Bible and say that. Yeah, he's got the problem is that the Bible says that. Does still means he can say it's a heresy to him because it's a heresy to his particular doctrine. Is a theory.
I see. So it's a heresy
But that's
to
why you
him
can't.
when he says circle and we say 2D. No, for you to not infer sphericity from circle is heresy to me. I see.
No,
Right. That's why in this topic, you can't be a flat earther and a heliocentrist without one of them being a heretical position. And that doesn't mean they know or understand what I just said, but that is the fact of the matter.
Compatible with a spherical shape of the Earth with a heliocentric model. I'm not sure if I understood if he said satellites don't exist, or maybe they don't exist in the way that we describe them. So I'm not sure exactly what his argument was on that particular issue.
No. What his rebuttal would be in that particular regard. God, they want it to be your positive claim when you offer a rebuttal for their garbage, don't they?
Yes, but see, that's the thing. His description, the way we describe them, that's what it's about. Your descriptions. You can't describe the Earth as a flat plane and then assert that you're describing it as a not flat plane. But no. You can't do that.
But again, theoretical physics did not exist at the 1600s or the 1300s, or if we want to go all the way back before the time of Christ, when tons of people had already proven the Earth was a sphere. When we talked about
disagree there.
This basis assertion number 3. Go ahead, John. Adam.
Incorrect, because people have always made shit up throughout time.
Yeah, but it's also a basis assertion.
I'm pretty sure somebody has heard of gravity.
He's saying we knew it was a sphere before the time of Christ. Okay, because there isn't anything to substantiate it. It's just a baseless assertion.
He's saying they didn't have theoretical physics back then, so they wouldn't know that it's a ball. Theoretical physics doesn't prove anything, mate.
Eratosthenes had discovered the circumference of the Earth before the time of Christ. And
how did he do that? Maybe he'll tell us. Let's see if he substantiates the claim or not. No, wait for it.
We have maps, we have globes.
We'll rewind because I know what he's going to go on to next. I want to cover that too. So I'll pause. Who's going to take the reins when he says the claim again?
Eratosthenes had discovered the circumference of the Earth before the time of Christ.
Oh, really? Now, you don't substantiate it with the actual methodology, which requires a flat Earth be measured. Who's going to take the opportunity to expand on this?
He's going to need some, hard pipe hitting surveyors to map out this flat plane that he's going to apply this to. This in of itself, I think we've debunked in terms of it. It debunks itself with the moon shadow. So we have to remember this isn't this is a calculation that's done based on an assumption, with the assumptions being that the sun can be big and far away, or smaller and local. And even within themselves, they admit there's no way of telling. And what we discovered with Bad Moon Shadow is actually within itself, because we can use a sundial and use moonlight, which by their definition is small and local, there is no differentiator within Eratosthenes' riddled demonstration. I said, whether you want to go to how do you get from Siam to Alexandria?
No, just stop there.
You don't need to do that.
Hold on, just stop there, because you're explaining the apologetics for the near or far when they push the distance infinitely, but the process itself it requires an angle measurement, does it not? That's the bit I wanted to focus on because a flat Earth is required. Maybe John will do it if he's around.
Well, whether you're going to assert parallel or divergent rays creating the shadows, the angle of incident that will be described will be with respect to a flat Earth. But After knowing that is where Adam's point that he was getting ready to conclude starts.
Yes.
Which is still extremely relevant to his claim of satellites and orbital mechanics.
Exactly. But the first step, as with everything, the genesis of this process is the angle measurement with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. Earth is being measured as flat for this assertion. The distance claimed between Cyan and wherever it's taking the angle with a stick and the well, that is a flat Earth proof because we're comparing flat Earth angles with shadows and flat baselines, and then apologizing for why the sun would be doing it with respect to parallel light rays for his inference that he can derive a radial value from these flat Earth angle measurements. So he's going to need a flat Earth for this.
And we have...
Thank you, John and Adam. It would have been better if I'd have got John first, then Adam, but that's perfectly fine. Maybe I'll edit it afterwards.
Maps, we have globes, we have all kinds of images.
We have maps, we have globes, we have all kinds of images. Okay, well, let's unpack those three things. You have globes because you can take the latitude system measured off a flat Earth and stretch it around a ball. You have maps because you take projections from that flat Earth-derived ball and its measurements of latitude with respect to a flat Earth, and then project those points out onto a cylinder, which you then cut out and roll out flat to give you a Mercator projection in the GPS that you appealed to earlier in this debate. You being the collective you. Well, that is a flat map used with flat angles, flat measurements of stars, so that you can represent areas of equal elevation in the latitude and longitude grid that is measured flat. So when you say you've got a globe, you've only got a latitude measurement that you stretch around a ball shape. But the measurements to give you that ball shape are flat. Latitude. That latitude grid measured with angles off a flat plane to Polaris is what gives you those points you stretch around a ball, to then project on a cylinder and roll back out flat again so it can actually functionally operate with the flat ground that you're actually utilising. That's why it ends up being flat. So the maps that you appeal to are all flat. There is no exception. They wouldn't work in practical application if they weren't. The fact that in the back of your mind you feel that somewhere it's come from a ball is misled, because the ball came from the flat Earth angle measurements to Polaris that give us the latitude grid that gets stretched around a ball after measuring Earth flat. I thank you.
Images from the Bible.
It would be funny to point out at this moment.
Go ahead.
It would be funny to point out at this moment when they were appealing for models back in 2015, and still to this day, that they would point out that the Mercator projection, they were all projections of a globe. But now we can go one step past that and one up even their false dichotomy. So it's a pretty good place to be in 2024.
Absolutely agree. No longer will it be, look, I've got a projection of a ball in the form of a Mercator projection. So this flat map that's being used flat and operates flat and must be flat for areas of equal elevation and for it to match with the latitude grid that we'll measure with angles off a flat Earth, it's flat. But it's a globe projection. What do you got, Flatty? Pizza pie in a sky vacuum? Oh, that's going to fail miserably. While my flat Earth utilised flat map that I say came from a globe wins. Therefore, Earth's a globe. Fast forward to 2024. To have the globe to stretch out flat after projecting it onto a cylinder required we actually measured the positions on the ground with respect to Polaris. And when we measured those positions we call latitude with respect to the ground, to derive that system, we measured it flat. And when we utilise it after the fact, we're using two-dimensional circles of equal elevation, so we have to have flat maps to use that system. So, in conclusion, we measured Earth flat to give us the map, to then give you the ball, which distorts everything, and then project it back out on a flat map, in a square grid that's actually representative of a circular system. So it's very distorted when we insert your sphere. Meanwhile, the origins are flat Earth measurements. So we're not going to sit in false dichotomy while you claim the Mercator projection, that's a flat map, proves a ball. But my pizza pie in a sky vacuum doesn't prove we're on a flat plane. Look at these flight plans. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that's not going to work anymore. All roads lead to a flat Earth. The genesis of all measurements will be these angles to the stars off a flat plane. Very good place to be in 2024, John. I completely agree. We'll get a couple more clips and then I'm going to round out the live shows. We've been going for almost a couple of hours now.
People showing that the Earth is a sphere, believing it's a sphere. I don't need modern scientific theories.
Okay, great job. And we will kick it back to Witsit in 1 second for him to address, and I wrote these down. Stars being flipped in the southern hemisphere, the sun rising in the east and the west, Eratosthenes, and the HQ, the who question. And I will add this, though, as the moderator, I get to look things up. And Pastor Shelley just said that circle means a globe, and I just looked it up. Circle, the definition, a closed plane curve consisting of all points at a given distance from a point within it called the center. Not only is that not correct factually, it's actually the opposite.
Can I clarify that point?
No.
Excuse me, if you're going to fundamentally undermine my point that I made, I would prefer that I got to interrupt right in the middle of you undermining my point about a two-dimensional circle not being spherical. So if it's okay with you, Owen, I'll rumpus this point in the middle of you making a conclusion about my fallacious logic with two-dimensional circles being insisted on taken as spherical. Now, what you're doing, my coward friend, is rumpusing the annihilation of your stupid garbage point. The moderator looked up what you meant when you said circle in reference to a Bible quote. Circle isn't sphere, and he's just pointing that out to you, but you feel the need to interrupt him. Yes, because it's painful when you're wrong with your garbage that you took from the Bible, that in actuality and ironically proves Earth's flat by the standard of taking it literally. Of course, for you, that would be heresy, wouldn't it? Go ahead. Who sat off mute the whole time then, that discussion? One of you's off mute in G+. Did you add something to add, whoever that is? I can't see who's off mute, but did you want to add something, whoever that is? I'm not saying it was the person that just had the line.
No, it's my fault. I think one of my kids hit the button. Sorry.
It's a two-dimensional closed. That's a circle.
Can I clarify what I meant?
That'd be the second interruption from a fundamentalist religious zealot, coward, globe believer who's being undermined by the very definitions of the words he used as his proof. Yeah, what? The second interruption going to make it less painful, my friend? Yeah, this is what I get irritated by when I undermine the stupid garbage nonsense that you spouted. But you think it's what? Worthy of an interruption? No, you can shut your mouth and listen to Owen undermine your point. Because circles aren't globes. You just didn't understand the words that came out of your own mouth and now feel it's better to interrupt the correction that he's giving you. No, what would be nice if you shut your stupid mouth, listened to him correct you, and then thanked him for correcting and highlighting your ignorance and your misapprehensions of globe proof in the Bible when you misinterpret the very words you read. Circle. He's correcting you. Shut your mouth and listen to him correct you. What's your malfunction? Is he a heretic? Because he can define something as flat and two-dimensional, and it doesn't comport with your sphere belief, so it's reasonable to interrupt the heretic? No! Shut your stupid mouth and listen to how wrong you are, is what I'd say. Go ahead. Someone had their line open again. Go ahead.
You said the dictionary
in the 1820s.
That'll be the third interruption from a fundamentalist religious zealot globe believer who cannot tolerate being wrong because it's heresy. You coward. What's this guy's name? Is it Jonathan Shelley? Jonathan Shelley. My name's Nathan Oakley. I'm calling you a coward because you're wrong and you just can't tolerate it. You're a zealot. And no, when the Bible's taken literally, it is not heresy because of your zealotry. I hope I make myself clear.
In the 1828 Webster's.
Now he's talking straight through the moderator. Yeah? You need to assert your dominance, do you, when you're wrong? What a coward.
Dictionary which would be closer to the 1611 King James Bible when it was translated. If you look at the second definition of the word circle, it literally says orb and sphere and earth.
No problem. What's
No,
the
it
first
doesn't.
one
It
say?
says circle, circuit, compass. That's what the word means in Hebrew. You just made it.
Yeah, and we do get to fact check you. This is not.
Right, he's looking down at his shoes again, rather than acknowledging Witsit's correction. Now, Witsit's got a smug smile on his face. This guy's looking at his shoes. You just interrupted him 3 times for your baseless assertion that it means sphere. Witsit corrected you with the Hebrew, and now you're looking at your shoes. No apology, no thanks for the correction, nothing. Just 3 interruptions, and now he's looking at his shoes. You are pathetic. This example, and I'm glad it's in the third person because I can do this. This is why I despise you. Because of your disgusting behavior as a human being. You're a pathetic example of people and what they do when they are wrong. It's why I am justified in despising you for your behavior.
Not me being biased.
I have the image. If you want me to pull it up on the screen, I can pull it up.
I'm looking at the concordance right now, right? It says circle, circle.
Yeah, it wasn't addressed the first time. Witsit is now doubling down on his 4th interruption.
Circuit, compass.
Those are the 3 words that it's translated as in the King
number
James
one,
Bible.
The first definition of 1828 in geometry.
So it is translated as Witsit just described. He's just conceded. Right? Where's the... Oh, yeah, okay. That's the end of my garbage point, then.
Geometry, a plane figure comprehended by a single curved line called its circumference.
This annoys me. Why are we focused on the Bible literacy and the Hebrew translations when we measure Earth flat? We're going to get lost in these weeds. How long are we going to be in these weeds?
Part of which is equally distant from a point called the center. Of course, all lines drawn from the center to the circumference or periphery are equal to each other. That is the first.
What's the second definition?
In popular use, so not the definition. I'm just going to let when
just
it
read
says
it.
in popular use. No, but I'm establishing this. You said the definition is a globe or a ball, but the definition is actually a flat plane. In popular use, which basically means slang, like grabbler.
If you read the first definition, it says in.
No, he doesn't like it, does he? It has a definition, and they're saying that it has been and is used. And just by chance, it's the way you're using it, my friend. But it does not meet the definition. Why? Well, because it contradicts the description. Circles aren't spheres. They're circles. Meanwhile, we measure Earth flat, and if it were me in debate, I'd be bringing it back to that point at every given opportunity.
Geometry. So yeah, it's saying clarifying in a 2D drawing of geometry. It's okay.
Fair
It's an annihilation of your point. It's a stuttering man that's interrupted 4 times. It's a time that you should be conceding in. That's what it is, my friend.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you stare at those shoes.
The line that comprehends the figure, the plane or surface comprehended, and the whole body or solid matter of a round substance are demonstrated in a circle, a ring, an orb, the earth. Okay.
So it says ring, circle. I mean, you invoked it geometrically, saying it was describing a sphere. That's a geometric argument.
Yeah, ring is not, but it's fine.
So if we read orb is provided in the definition, and if you
Yeah, so if we can acknowledge that and say that the definition could be, in terms of Hebrew translation, ambiguous for the point of your reasoning. Meanwhile, we measure Earth flat. So who cares? Why are we in these weeds? At the end of this, we're going to have a neutral outcome. He'll take that, I absolutely assure you. He'll take this neutral outcome like it's a win. Watch.
You just type in.
This is really a
that's
weird
a
reach
fact.
to me, bro. This is a weird reach.
How is that a weird reach?
Though. I will give you that. I'll give you that.
How is this neutral outcome a weird reach? Because I'm going to now labour this point, because this is my win, basically. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. Meanwhile, if he was up against me, he'd be dealing with the flat measurements that he's got to imply. What about the east and west and the sun that moves with respect to the angles that you measure from the horizon? That's a flat Earth prerequisite that you use twice in your claims. What are you going to deal with them? Because we're measuring Earth flat for a lot of your claims. We're going to talk about the Hebrew translation instead. Oh, bless. You need the easier argument.
No.
I would absolutely humiliate him,
Yeah.
take the piss out of him for taking the easy route. Taking these easy arguments, rather than the not flat measurement argument that you're not addressing. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be taking the piss out of him. Go ahead.
Right. I'd rather argue about my interpretation of translation than, dealing with what we actually know.
Yeah, we're not doing that in these discussions, are we? And the opponent's always going to take the easiest route possible. If there's a compound question, they'll take the answer that they find the easiest. They're not going to take the difficult route. And in this instance, what's the easiest thing to debate about? The ambiguity of Hebrew translation when it comes to circle. Okay, so if we categorically prove that the Hebrew translation did mean circle, and it does undoubtedly say circle of the earth, and that means circle in Hebrew, does that prove Earth's a circle? Therefore two-dimensional and flat? No. What about if we draw out circles of equal elevation with respect to ground positions that we measure off a flat plane? Would that prove that we are measuring off a flat plane circles of equal elevation? That's altitude, all the same, when we move around Earth and navigate it. Yeah, that would mean that we're proving that we measured Earth flat and navigate Earth flat. Or we could do the Hebrew thing. I mean, if that's easier for you, Globe Believer. I mean, did you need a few flat Earth proofsies in your Hebrew translation as well, as in your east-west sun rising with angles off the horizon measured flat? Because it seems like you're just measuring things flat and then going to Hebrew translations because they're easier. That seems pretty sad. Would be my attitude. I mean, what do I know about debating and all that? Any other last remarks before I ask people to stay tuned? No? With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, joined as a member, hit me up on Ko-Fi and PayPal and all that good stuff. And, of course, a massive thank you to Discord and G+ Panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.